Well, now I've had a lovely, lovely letter from a lady in our audience telling me all about her sister. And when I say the name Carol Wright, you'll know that I'm talking about you, Shirley Dodding. Where are you, Shirley? Where are you, Shirley? Wave your hand. Shirley, come down here. You've got a most marvellous, moving story to tell. Had a lovely letter. Your sister wrote a marvellous letter telling me all about what a life you've had. Can I take you back about, well, it's got to be about 30 years ago, so your sister says, and you met and fell in love with your husband, but he was your boyfriend at the time, Peter. Mm-hmm. And then, well, you gave birth. You weren't married, and you had a little baby girl called Jane. And because of the circumstances and all the stigma with the time then, you had no option but to put your little girl up for adoption, didn't you?
Yeah.
And this you did. And you didn't know what happened to her. And 2 years later, you did actually marry Peter. Mm-hmm. And you went on to have another 3 daughters. What are the names?
Tracy, Paula and Lisa.
Tracy, Paula and Lisa. Well, you often wondered what happened to little baby Jane. And she indeed often wondered what happened to her real parents, because she was adopted, unbeknownst to you, by a lovely couple. And she emigrated to Canada with these adoptive parents. And then round about 9.5 or 10 years ago, this little girl, your eldest daughter, wanted to find you. Is that right?
Yeah.
And she came over to Britain on holiday with her adopted family. And during that holiday, she thought, I'm going to try and find my mum and dad. And this she did.
She did, yeah.
But she never got in touch with you first, did she?
No.
Who did she find first?
My brother.
Your brother. And then your brother gave her your phone number. And he phoned you. What was your reaction?
I don't know, really. I always expected it.
Oh,
that
you did?
She would come find me, yeah.
I know you and your Peter thought that there wasn't a day that goes by whenever you wondered what had happened to her. Anyway, that great day came, but unfortunately it was towards the end of that trip, and you got together, but it was just for 1.5 hours, wasn't it? And she met all her sisters, all her blood sisters, and had to go back to Canada. But I do know that you and your husband Peter, from that day onwards, had tried to save up for a visit to go to Canada, see your eldest daughter, Jane, and to see your grandchildren, who you've never ever met. Well, it was looking good for you, but then last year, I mean, tragedy of all tragedies happened. You lost your husband, didn't you? So you've given up all hope of ever seeing your eldest daughter or going to Canada and seeing the grandchildren you've never ever met. Well, it doesn't matter, love. You don't have to go to Canada. Because surprise, surprise, everything's possible on this show. Because we've flown your eldest daughter, Jane, all the way over from Canada with her 4 children, your 4 grandchildren you've never ever met. And here she is. Come in, Jane. Say hello to Mum, together with grandchildren Peter, Michael and Elizabeth and Matt. There they are. Look at that.
Reaching out, holding hands, reliving memories as we smile through the years. The fears disappear. Life is full of surprises. It's surprising how dreams come true. Life is full of surprises, and the nicest surprise in my life is you.
Well, that's all we have time for this week, I'm afraid. I'd like to thank everyone who's taken part in tonight's show. John Pertwee, Roger and Jessica Whitaker, Walter Koenig and Pat Cash. We'll be back with more surprises next week, so until then, it's